Ever since Michele Bachmann announced that she would not be running again for her seat in Congress, the question has remained, what will she do now? I know that you've been on the edge of your seat waiting to find out what is Michele Bachmann going to do in the next few years. And we now have at least a little bit of information coming from her appearance on the Sean Hannity show on Fox News. Let's listen to what she's got to say.
I'm not retiring. I'm not going silent. I'm not quitting my public involvement. In fact, I may run for another public office. That could happen. But for right now, I think I'm going to find a different perch in order to be able to weigh in on these matters.
But you don't have any definitive plan?
No definitive plan right now, but I'm wide open and looking. I'm not going away. I'm not leaving Washington. I'm not leaving the national scene. It's just bringing a positive solution from a different perch.
All right, last question. Are you going to think about 2016, maybe running for president again?
Well, I'm not taking anything off of the table, but that's not my number one item that I'm looking at right now.
So we've got a couple of different things going on there. Let's break down a couple of her statements. So obviously she's leaving open future runs for Congress, I suppose, more likely for the Senate, possibly for governor, although I find that to be probably the least likely of all of her potential options going forward. And of course, the presidency. So that's obviously that was what he wanted to talk about. He wants to be the one to get the scoop that she's going to be running. Everybody wants those announcements, even though we're years away from the next presidential election. And nobody is surprised, I think, at this point to know that she's leaving open the door for a run for president. Now, will she actually run again? I would say that the chances are less than 50% that she will run again. It's not that I don't think that she's arrogant enough to think that she could win, but it's that I think that at this point she's getting a better idea of the political media landscape that we have and the cost-benefit analysis of running. Now, there is value for someone running for president, even if they think they're not going to win. It allows you to get a little bit more exposure in terms of getting across maybe some of your political views. Third-party candidates often run for exactly that reason. And even if you're just a pure cynic and you're running for the money of it, there's definitely value in putting yourself on that national stage. You want to sell some books, you want to sell a speaking tour, that's how you do it. But at this point, I think that considering we have basically a 24/7, 365-day-a-year, all 4 years in a row cycle of people running for president, I don't even think she needs to actually run at this point to get those cynical monetary benefits. She can just string along Sean Hannity and the other people around Fox News and still sell just as many books and get just as high fees for speaking engagements. And by the way, almost anything you pay her to give a speech is going to be paying too much. So beyond her political possible future, I alluded to, of course, that she might just be doing this for the money. Now, that's what I said last week when I was talking about her not running and Jim Graves not replacing her. I think that at this point, perhaps most specifically because of the experience of Sarah Palin, but also Allen West and a couple other political figures like that, it now seems so obvious and so appealing to these politicians to not run. Don't run. Just get on Fox News, get a cushy job being a pundit or something like that. You still get to influence the political narrative to some extent, and for a congresswoman like Michele Bachmann, perhaps to a greater extent than you actually did based on your political office. Because when you're in Congress, you're 1 out of 435. You have very little power. Any individual congresswoman, especially one who lacks almost entirely in political savvy, like Michele Bachmann. So instead, get the job on Fox News. You get way more money per year. You develop a following. If you ever decide to run for another political office, it makes it that much easier. And so I think that that is most likely what is driving her. I think that she's leaving open as many doors as she can, but I think that that's what she will actually do, is angle for that media job. Now, it depresses me that that is such an appealing option for politicians in this country, that that's how politics and media have sort of grown together. But I will say that I think that the chances that she will accomplish in the media what she wants to are lower than she might be, I guess, gambling at this point. And historically, we've been very worried about these crazies getting into media and making people go crazy too. But I think that we've seen a couple of high-profile failures in the last few years that make me less worried than I would have been half a decade ago. Glenn Beck got on Fox News, did not succeed on Fox News. Ann Coulter at one point was very big on Fox News. Now she has almost no influence whatsoever. Michelle Malkin also. What influence does she really have at this point? Sarah Palin did have the job in Fox News, was eventually fired or parted ways. So I think that Fox News is always going to be interested in finding someone like an Allen West, like a Michele Bachmann, who can go out there and say crazy things, especially if they're a female or a minority. But I think that they also learned that at some point you can't control crazy. Don't get in bed with crazy. Michele Bachmann, definitely crazy. I think even Fox News is going to think twice about hiring her.